Okay, hello everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Up the back too? Great. And everybody online as well. Welcome to Neura. Thank you all so much for coming, and for those joining online as well. This is the first time we are holding a Falls Expo at Neura, so it's great to see such a wonderful turnout and everybody here to support our research and learn about how to prevent falls. So thank you all so much for coming down today. I'd firstly like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today, the Bidjigal and Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Indigenous people here today. So firstly, today we will go through a key presentation on the latest falls prevention strategies and how to stay steady on your feet. And then we will go through a live demonstration of our new falls prevention app, StandingTall. And then from there, you'll be able to have an opportunity to meet the researchers outside, test your balance, learn about all the latest healthy aging projects at Neura, and of course the best part, free lunch. So enjoy, please. There's plenty of food to go around. But with no further ado, getting straight into our first presentation, world-leading researcher in falls prevention and healthy aging. Please welcome Professor Kim Delbaere.
Thanks, Alicia, and thank you all for coming. Look, it's just amazing to see all of you here. Many of you have been participants in our trials, and it's just really heartwarming to just see you all here together. So thank you very much for being here. And so what I will do, I will start just by giving a little bit of an overview of falls and what we can do about it, and just kind of take you through. I'm happy to answer questions during the talk, but we'll also have opportunity to ask questions afterwards. Right. Most of you should know this because you have been participants in our trials, what a fall is, or the type of fall that we care about. It's really when you land on the ground and you didn't mean to. That's essentially what it is. It's very common. So we know that about 1 in 3 people at the age over 65 will fall once a year, and half of those will fall again in the same year. And what we also know is that risk increases when people aged over 85, so then it's double. So it is a very common problem. And it is also a common problem that a lot of people feel it's part of aging, and we can't do anything about it. But that's the one thing that I would like to challenge for you today, to just really say that there's absolutely something we can do about it. And here is Bob, who is a consumer who has done a lot of work with us. And one of the things he says, you know what, falls don't discriminate. Like if you're a famous person, like we had Maggie Beer not too long ago, Barry Humphries actually died because of a hip fracture after a fall. Carla Zampatti also passed away because of a fall, but we can absolutely do something about it. This does not have to be inevitable. So here you can see, we see a lot of word around, you know, cardiovascular disease, stroke, and that gets a lot of attention, but we're actually advocating to get a bit more attention for falls, because falls is actually one of the leading causes for hospitalization in Australia and in the Western world. Every 3 minutes, a person aged 65 and over is hospitalized because of a fall in Australia. So it's a very serious issue that is costing society, but it's also costing the individual. And this is one of our other consumers. You might recognize her, Diana Osberg. She was one of the stars of All People's Homes for 4-year-olds. And one of the things that she says is that having a fall can sentence you to social isolation, that you feel very worried about going out after a fall. So, and that is something that this is actually a true case study that you can see here. That because of a fall, because of an injury, but also sometimes just because you are concerned about falling again, it can lead to a loss of confidence, and it can also lead to reducing activities of daily life. This particular man had a fall on the markets. He actually went to the markets every week. It was one of the things that he did. And he felt very embarrassed that he couldn't get up from the fall at the markets. And as a result of that, he decided that he could not go to the markets anymore. He was then a participant of our study, and he kind of gained a lot of confidence again, and then went back to the markets after that. But it is something that can really get you into a negative spiral, but not inevitable. And that's really, as I said, the key thing that I really want to talk to you about. And there's 3 key messages that I would really like for you to take home today. And I will talk about a few other things as well, but these are the 3 key things to remember. So if you want to prevent a fall, the number 1 thing to do is to stay active and to do your balance exercises. So aiming for daily balance exercises is something that is very, very good to prevent your risk of falling. The other thing that you can do in your own home is to check for loose rugs and electrical cords that are laying around and that kind of should be neatly against a wall, those kind of things is also very good to prevent falls in your home. And then the last thing is to go and check with your GP and have your regular health checks for medication and any medical conditions that you might have that could also increase your risk of falling. So those 3 things are super important. Staying active, check your home for trip hazards, and go and talk to your GP to make sure that anything that is related to your health is covered off. That seems easy, doesn't it? It's doable. I think so. So why do we fall when we get older? This is a question that I often get. But why is that? Why do we fall? And part of it is because, you know, there are more health conditions that you might gather, like arthritis. Having pain might actually increase your risk of falling because you're not walking as stable anymore as you used to. But there's other things as well, like if you need to take medications and there's lots of medications together, they might also together impact how your blood pressure, or if you feel dizzy, those kind of things. And sleeping tablets is one good example that might actually cause some dizziness when you wake up, like it might feel you a bit drowsy. And then there's other things in relation to vision, but also people might have a stroke, Parkinson's disease, all those medical conditions are also related to a fall. So that's a bit like there's a lot of different risk factors, and there's actually a study that looked at how many risk factors have been mentioned in the literature. Can you make a guess how many there are? 65. Anyone wants to better it? 100. You're closer, but it's 400 different risk factors. So, but so there's all these different things that can contribute to falls, but we can actually break it down. If we start to do something about all those different risk factors, it becomes way too complicated, and we won't be able to do anything. So here I will now take you through a few of the tips that you can do. And I've really just summarized what is in this booklet. So many of you, I can see it on your lap already. So all the information is in here as well. So as I mentioned, many falls are preventable, and they can be picked up. The risk factors can be picked up by regular health checks. And if you catch them early, it is very possible to also make sure that you don't fall as a result of it. So this mostly relates to health conditions and medications. So just making sure that if you're taking a blood pressure tablet and your blood pressure has actually normalized and you don't need it anymore, that the doctor also checks on that regularly. Same with sleeping tablets, cholesterol, all those things. So you just need to have a regular health check about those. Then another one that's very important is feet. So as we get older, we get all these kind of issues with our feet. Some people get bunions, like there's hammer toes, all those things. But a podiatrist can really help with that. Like they can help you make sure that, you know, your feet are as healthy as they can be and they don't feel sore as you walk on them. And also having good footwear. So not wearing slippers that might make it a bit hard to stay stable, and wearing like nicely enclosed shoes like you can see here that are laced up with a good sole, that is not slippery. So those things are really helpful, especially when you walk outside, but also when you walk in your home. The other one is glasses. And this is an interesting one. What do you think about multifocal glasses? How many people have multifocal glasses? Nearly everyone. So when you have multifocal glasses, do you wear them outside? And that is actually a risk factor for falls. Because you can imagine if you look through that bottom bit of your glasses that is for reading, they're actually meant for you to focus on a distance that is just about here, like this distance. So you can imagine when there's a crack in the pavement that might be a bit blurry and you might not be able to see it. So that is one of the things that we say, go and get like a single, not multifocal glasses, but the single lens glasses for walking outside, because then you don't have that issue. Multifocals are still very much needed, but you know, in different situations. For driving, it's a good one for there. So yeah, as you can see, like this crack you might not be able to, or this step you might not see. Then we have the importance of strong bones and strong muscles. So this is, strong muscles are important to move around, but especially the strong bones are very important that if we do have a stumble, that we don't break anything. And one of the most important things in relation to that is just to have a regular DEXA scan, so a bone scan. You can ask for that, especially the women in the room. Is definitely important to get that checked regularly, but also your nutrition, so your diet. Calcium is very important, and something that you might not know is that as you get older, you actually need more calcium than when you're younger. So you need to take more, and you might actually have to get a supplement for it as well, because your body needs calcium to function, and not just your bones. So it will actually take calcium from your bones if it doesn't get enough. So that's why it's so important to take your calcium tablets, but just make sure to check with your doctor, because not everyone needs them. And there's a lot of different foods that you can eat that have a bit more calcium in them as well. And there's a list here with some servings as well as a guide. And the other thing that we need, which are we so lucky for in Australia, is sun. So we do need a bit of sun and vitamin D, making sure we don't burn, because that has other risk factors related to cancer, of course. But vitamin D is very important to absorb the calcium into our bones. And so that's where the combination tablets of calcium and vitamin D are also very helpful. But most of the falls actually happen in a familiar environment. Did you know that? Most falls actually happen in people's homes, not when you're out and about and doing something that you're not familiar with. Most falls happen in the home, 50%, over 50%. And that is where you can actually have control over that. You can check your home and make sure that there are no trip hazards. The things that you might say, well, I know that's there, but you know what? One day you might be rushing to pick up a phone or something else, and you might miss that one thing that you know is there as a trip hazard. So it's better not to keep it there. And we have a list in our little booklet as well that actually goes through a few common areas or common things that people have in their home where there might be a trip hazard, or not enough lighting as well, because dark rooms are a bit harder to see in as well. Another one that I feel very passionate about is concerns about falling. So having a little bit of concerns or worries about falling is probably a good thing. You know, if you think about cleaning the gutters, or walking on like a slippery surface like this, you know, it's good to feel a little bit scared of falling, isn't it? Like, because you actually will slow down or you will not do it. But sometimes concerns about falling really get in the way. And that is what Diana was saying, that it can really sentence you to social isolation. So if concerns about falling, if you feel concerned that you might fall in situations that actually are important to have a high quality of life and to feel happy, and you start avoiding those activities because of this, then you really should think, right, this is not good for me. This is not healthy. And then talk to your GP, talk to a family member about what you can do about it. Because there are lots of things that we can do to reduce that concerns about falling and have those safety guards, doing things together with someone, or making sure that, you know, the activity that you do is done in the safest way possible. And then when you get that confidence back, then all of a sudden it might feel, well, actually, I can do this. I don't know why I was worried. I still don't want to fall, but it's not going to stop me from doing things that I enjoy. Then another thing, so we've been talking a little bit about the body, you know, our aging bodies, and we've been talking about concerns about falling and our brains. So the one thing that for falls is very important is that we move very smoothly, that we are stable, that our balance is good, that our posture is good, and we stand tall, right? But if we don't feel very well in ourselves, like if we feel a bit sad, if we feel a bit lonely, it affects everything. So it also will affect how you walk, and it will also affect the activities that you do and how active you are. So it's very important as well to recognize if you're feeling a bit low in mood, or if you feel a little bit, if you feel like you might have depression. And that is something that you absolutely can talk to your health professional, your GP about as well. And we know that depression in itself is a risk factor of falling, because it has all these other impacts as well about how you feel about yourself. But then there's this other thing, and that's our brain. How often does it happen that you walk to the shops and you think, if this happens to me a lot, I didn't check if there was still enough milk. Does that happen? It happens to me a lot. And then you think about this and you try to picture, how is your fridge, like how much milk was there the last time that you used it? And that is a dual task. So that is actually, you're distracting yourself by thinking about the milk, and you're walking away and you're not really stopping to walk. And then there's something, a crack on the pavement, and that might just be enough to trip you up. So your brain and being able to do two things at once, and we know we often say this joke that women are way better at it than men, and we are. Totally are. But actually, this is actually another myth that's a bit separate, but no one can do two things at once. But women are a lot better at switching tasks, so very quickly switch between two tasks. And that is a thing that as we get older becomes a bit harder. So we still can do it. We can still go from one thing to the other thing, but we're just not as quick. And so if then there is a trip, you actually need to prioritize taking a step to make sure that you don't fall. But the milk is still kind of in your head. And that makes it a bit hard to actually take that quick step. And so that's where the importance of the brain and the mind is really, really strong. And there's 3 types of executive function, which is what it allows us to think quickly, to remember about this trip hazard that we have in our home, but please don't keep it there to test your working memory. Remove it. And also making sure that you have enough cognitive flexibility to change what you're doing at the time to do what is more important, being to take a quick step. And another thing that is in relation to this, that is inhibition control, that is making the possibility, or the ability rather, to stop something. So just think about a banana peel. in the middle of the road and you didn't notice it and you were just walking, stepping, and your foot will land right on the banana peel. So you actually have to stop that and you have to change what you're doing to kind of go to the side, take a bigger step, a smaller step. So being like inhibiting something, stopping something that you kind of are doing in automatic mode is also very important. And these three things, as we get older, they get a bit harder to do, but you can practice them. So there's lots of different games and different ways, learning a new hobby, all those things are very good to test and improve your executive function. You're never too old for it. So if you say, oh, but I'm 85 now, it's too late. No, no way. If you're 98, it's still okay to do this kind of stuff. So here we are to the most important aspect of falls prevention now. And I'd like to start with what the World Health Organization says. So some of you might know this, maybe most of you might know this, that the World Health Organization says that we need to do 150 minutes per week of exercise. So that is 2.5 hours. So, and that is for everyone, all ages. But for people who are over the age of 65, they say that in addition to that, we also need to make sure that we do at least 3 days, and it is really 2 hours a week of balance exercises per week as well, just to make sure that we keep up our balance. So that is what the World Health Organization says to prevent falls. And of course, you know, we other than balance, we just need to make sure that we keep up our fitness as well. So that's very important as well, that we go for walks and to keep our strength and our heart health. But so when we say 2 hours per week, 2.5 hours per week, that is not just for 6 months, not just for 1 month, it's indefinitely. So don't settle, but just make sure that you actually build that into your life and build that into your daily habits, right, Harold? Daily habits of doing your exercises. We've got our superstar right there on habits. He can help you and give some tips on it. Because it's really the aim to have exercise and activity as a lifelong habit. In your booklet, there are a few tips on how to do balance exercises, but I thought maybe I'll give you a few extra tips as well. Because a lot of people would say, like, but well, how do you do this? What is a balance exercise? Like, what is it? Is it just standing on one leg? Well, that would be a bit boring, wouldn't it, to do that for 2 hours a week, right? And, you know, and if you can't do it, then it's just like, oh, well, I can't do it anymore. But there's lots of different ways to practice your balance, and you can make it harder by doing different things. So if you take small steps like this, you can take longer steps, you can do more repetitions, you can reduce your support, so you can hold on initially and then remove your support. You can put your feet closer together, that makes it harder, or even just go on one leg. Adding movements with your hands, that also makes it a lot harder. So, and doing a bit of reaching. Closing your eyes. It's hard, isn't it? I struggle with that one too. If I'm standing on one leg and I close my eyes, I immediately start to wobble. I won't do it. I won't do it in front of everyone here. But that is a really good one as well, to close your eyes, because when you keep your balance, you rely on your vision. So you rely on what you see. It kind of helps your brain to make sure that you keep your balance. And if you remove that, all of a sudden you can only use your proprioception and what you feel in your joints and what you feel in your inner ear to keep your balance. And it makes it so much harder, but great practice. But make sure you're safe when you do it. And adding a brain challenge, you know what I was saying about the milk? You can actually replicate that. When you do your balance exercise, you can do some sums. Just whatever you like to do, you can name certain, or the things that are in your fridge, for example. It doesn't really matter. Anything that distracts you is a good thing to add to your exercise, and you will feel all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, like this is actually a lot harder. And that's when you notice that balance is actually relying on your brain. Another thing that's very daunting is 2 hours of balance exercise a week. It's a lot, isn't it? How do you fit that in? There's so much to do. And 2 hours of this extra on top of it. But if you think about it, like, and that's where balance is actually a really nice activity, because if you say going for a run or going for a walk, if you just go for a walk for 2 minutes, it's really not a lot of walking, is it? But if you do a balance exercise for 2 minutes, you've actually done 2 minutes. It's fine. So you can break it up in small chunks. And so that's where we say 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. Keep it as a habit, like at the end, like when you finish breakfast, just before you have breakfast, add a little reward to it, like have a coffee only after you've done your balance exercises, like things like that, whatever works. And that actually really helps to kind of build that habit and to just make sure that it sticks. And if you link it to something. But of course, it's very important that you stay safe, because if you do balance exercises, you will wobble a little bit and need to challenge your balance a little bit, and to make sure that you check with your GP if you feel a little bit concerned. But balance exercises are very gentle, so you really don't need to feel too concerned about it, but just make sure that you do check if you feel worried. And there are lots of health professionals out there, physiotherapists, exercise physiologists, and now even fitness instructors. They have this additional certificate that they can get specifically for falls prevention and balance exercises for people aged 65 and older. And exercise, if we do that, we have so many other benefits as well. Like it's good for our brain, it's good for our hearts, it's good for your sugar, it helps you sleep, it helps you de-stress. If you feel a bit worried and a bit anxious, it helps with that as well. And it just helps you feel confident to go out and socialize, because we need that. We're social people. Even if we are introverts and like to be by ourselves sometimes, I'm like that. I really could not survive without the people around me and my friends and family. So we just really need to make sure that we keep that up as well. And that is why we created StandingTall. And Alicia will take you through it. But many of you have participated in our studies. And some of you have seen the very first version of StandingTall, which was looking a little bit clunky. And then our second version of StandingTall, which was looking better, but still not perfect. But this is now what our new version of StandingTall looks like, which is very modern looking, but still the same clear and nice colors. And thanks to you, to all of your as participants of our studies, we've also been able to show that we can prevent falls. So we're backed by science. And so we've done clinical trials in over 2,000 older people living in the community, and some of you are here. And across that entire group, we have been able to show that we can reduce falls by 19%. So that is both in people at high risk of falls and people at low risk of falls. If we think about people who are at a high risk of falls, so are a bit more wobbly, we increase that risk even more, reduction of risk even more, and we can reduce injuries from falls by 42%. And this is something that we feel very proud of, because there's not many programs out there that can actually show that big of a reduction of falls. But what we feel even more proud of is the amount of people that actually stuck with our program. So we are asking to do this program for 2 hours a week, because that's what the evidence says. And people who stayed in our study for up to 2 years, and for the first 6 months, and I'm a physiotherapist, I don't know how many of you know this, but I have given a lot of exercises to people, and I have never had 80% of people still doing 2 hours a week of exercises. I'm clearly not motivating enough, but the app was able to do that. So, and that is very encouraging, that it is possible, because you can do it in such small chunks, and add it to a habit and do it at home in the comfort of your own home, that we're making it so much easier to do this exercise. So, and that's what I feel even more proud of than actually reducing the injuries, which is also very important. And here you can see, some of you are here. You can see your photo here, some of the things that people have said. Some people would say, like, I've never exercised in my life, and all of a sudden I'm doing this every day, and it's a habit, and I never thought I would be able to stick with this. And also that it improves their confidence to go out, so that they do this at home, but they actually feel more confident to do the activities that they enjoy outside of home. And next, I will just show a few testimonials of people who have followed our program. Hopefully this works.
Balance is the most important thing. So Standing Tall came along and it fitted all the criteria that I needed. My name is Catherine Lim, and I've been using Standing Tall for about 2 years.
My name is Lindy, and I'm here to say that I was on the Standing Tall program for 3 years.
What I like is just that there's a variety of exercises. The exercises are something that we begin to understand and know. The way it's combined, we have the freshness of it all every day.
I liked the fact that it was a structured program. I liked the fact that it was a diverse program. And I liked the fact that it focused on my ability to be empowered for walking and moving out in society.
So I tend to look down all the time when I walk.
When I was visiting my friend and I was on this little brick wall, I thought rather than move the car, I'll just hop on the little brick wall and get into the boot. Well, I could feel myself going backwards. I could just feel it, and there was nothing I could do.
Standing Tall has helped me improve my balance. I'm a lot more confident walking around, looking up.
Standing Tall, definitely the way the program is structured, the way it's concentrating on your stability, that's the key. The best thing we can do for older people is to increase their stability and their ability to recover.
Thank you very much for looking after us. You know, we're very happy that there's a group of people here trying to help us to make sure that we maintain our balance and we can have a healthy lifestyle after 60. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kim. And can we hear me okay through the microphone now? Yeah, so now I'd love to give you a demo of Standing Tall. But first of all, I know we have a lot of ex-participants in the room. Can I get a hands up? Who has ever done Standing Tall before as part of our trials? Or it's more than half. Good to see you all again. So this is our new Standing Tall program. So we've been working on this for the past 2 years. It basically has all very similar nuts and bolts to the original Standing Tall, to what makes it effective, but with a nice shiny new cover on it. It works on the iPad. I'm going to connect the iPad to the screen so that everybody can see it. If you just bear with me just a moment. Welcome back. Yeah. Right, I'm going to shift this camera around so that online can see. All right. So today I'm going to run you through what a balanced session looks like with Standing Tall. So Standing Tall gives you the opportunity to meet your 2 hours of balanced exercise a week from home. But the secret sauce to Standing Tall is that it's personalised to each individual. So it's got over 800 exercises ranging from seated all the way up until exercises that I can't do, and I know that because I had to do all of them to get them on here, and I couldn't do some of them. So there's a huge range of exercises, and it's got inbuilt balance assessments, so it's tailored to your abilities. And it asks for your feedback over time so that it's always going to progress with you. So if you're improving over time, the exercises are going to get a little bit harder. Or if you go away, or if you get sick, the exercises will then adapt with you constantly. So the trick is to make sure that you're always doing balance exercises that are the right wobbliness for you. And that's where standing tall becomes effective. And to help me demonstrate, I'd like to invite up onto stage one of our longest and most consistent users, Harold Berman, has been using the program for over 8 years now, and I think still does about 2 hours of balance exercise every week for the past 8 years. So welcome to the stage, Harold Berman. Harold? Intentional and safe. Standing tall. All right, come on over. A lot of our research participants would recognise this music stand, the iPad stand. As Kim mentioned, we always have a sturdy surface next to us when we're challenging our balance. And I'll bring the iPad over. Did you lose the presentation? One moment. There we are. Okay. Oh, so we're going to run.
It's not the app, it's a presentation.
Thank you. That's all. We might need IT. Okay, there we go. We are falls experts, not IT experts, but we can still manage. Okay, there we go. All right, so Harold is going to take us through a balance session, and these are examples of exercises that you can do from home, and Standing Tall will provide them to you tailored to your abilities. So I'm going to start on let's start exercising. Harold, do you feel ready to go? All right, you've got your chair there just in case, and Harold can see the iPad, and that's what's displayed on screen here. So we can choose from 10, 20 or 30 minutes. I won't make you sit through a 30-minute session here, that won't be so thrilling. So we'll select on 10 minutes. We're going to do a balance session today. There are strength and heart health exercises in here, but we know that balance is the most important to prevent falls. So I'm going to tap on start now. With every single session, we always have a bit of a checklist to make sure that we're ready to go. So before you start, we always make sure that we've got a sturdy surface next to us, good footwear, and that we've got a clear space around us. It will also go through what equipment we need. If you need anything, which is usually a chair and a bit of space. So we'll get started. And so this is our first exercise. So letting us know it's starting shortly. So we've got standing feet hip width with our eyes closed. So Harold's going to close his eyes.
Stand with your feet hip width, close your eyes, feel and maintain your balance.
So we've got audio cues instructing us.
You will hear a beep at the end of the exercise, so you will know it's complete.
There will be a beep at the end so that we know it's done. And we've got 5 more seconds, Harold. Great. You can open your eyes. So that's exercise number 1. So now this is an example of an exercise that you can do that's making it a bit harder by introducing an unsturdy surface. I'm not going to ask you to get on a phone today, but this is something that you can do to make it a bit harder. So you can jump onto a towel or a chair cushion or anything that you have at home that's just going to make it a little bit
Stand with your feet hip width on the balance pad, then row your arms. Squeeze your shoulders blades together at the end of each movement.
So this is another example of a balance exercise. Adding in the arms just makes it, throws in another variation that makes it a little bit more challenging, having to add in something else while you're standing on that unsturdy surface. And I will let it run through to the end. Then I'll show you how to skip an exercise. Well done. Right, I'm going to skip rest. And so this is another example.
Stand tall on your toes. Imagine you're reaching for the stars. Keep it steady.
A balance exercise. So we're coming up onto our toes. I don't know if you've ever tried holding this position. It's both good for your strength, but it actually gets quite tricky on your balance as well. Doing okay? Well done. Well done. All right, so the session will take you through step by step how you do each of the exercises. It's got audio cues to tell you one technique, but also just to say, hey, keep going. Sometimes you need that little bit of a prompt. If you're a really keen bean, it gives you a rest time, but if you're really keen, you can skip that rest and get.
Make sure to step carefully onto your balance pad and get ready to lean.
There we go. So this is an example of changing your center of gravity. So that's where the balance challenge is. And for each of the exercises as well, if we're unsure, we can read about it. So we've got our little pen down the bottom demonstrating the exercise, and there's always tips and help up the top. So we've got examples of why we're doing this exercise, what it is, technique, and then also step-by-step instructions. So we're going to resume, and one feature here is that we can skip an exercise. Although we don't like to skip exercises, they're there for a reason, but sometimes we know that we just really don't like that exercise for whatever reason, whether we just don't like it or whether it's giving us a little bit of grief. So we do come up with, are you sure you want to skip the exercise? Yes, I'm sure. And we can go through the session that way. So unless you're reading about the exercise or skipping through, then the session will run without me having to touch the iPad at all. So it will just take you through a whole 10-minute session and you don't have to interrupt.
Walk forward in semi-tandem, stepping one foot slightly ahead of the other. Focus on smooth, straight steps.
So walking balance is another example of challenging your balance too, walking heel to toe. But one exercise I would like to show you, we've got sit to stands in there too, great for strength, great for balance. But skipping through to our dartboard exercise. Harold is very familiar. Okay.
Step and bend towards each target, bending the knee of your stepping foot.
Kim spoke about that ability to do two things at once. So this is where we're having to follow a cue on the screen. So our brain is observing that cue. And we're also having to step in that direction. So it's really training that ability to do two things at once.
Maintain your rhythm. You've got this.
You've got this. Well done, Harold. And I've got one more example of an exercise that I'd like to show you. A little bit similar to the dartboard. Harold, it's the grid. Do you feel ready to go for the grid? All right, you might want to take a little step back so that you've got the room.
Step and rock.
All right, so
Follow the footsteps in the grid.
We've got our 4x4 grid here, and Harold's going to emulate the steps. So this is really good for that directional balance, changing directions, following the cue, good for our brain, and that ability to change directions quickly without knowing where you're going to go.
Great stepping.
Well done, Harold. So these are a range of all the different balance exercises that Standing Tall has, but also things that you can do at home. So those things where we're standing and reducing our base of support.
Follow the footsteps in the grid.
Things where we're leaning in different directions so that you're challenging your centre of gravity. Things where you're changing directions. Well, these are all different things that you can do at home. All right. Well done, Harold. Pause it there. And can everybody please give Harold a round of applause? Before you go, Harold, I've got something for you. It's not more exercise. But Harold has been a dedicated, not only a research participant for our trial since I think it was 2017. So nearly 8 years now. But as I said, Harold has been committed to Standing Tall for, I think we figured out it was an average of 126 minutes per week. So right on cue for that entire time. So Harold has built in a habit, he's improved his balance, mobility, and we'd just like to award Harold with not Standing Tall. There we go. Standing Tall Lifetime Achievement Award. During that time, over 50,000 exercise minutes that Harold has done in over 7 years. So such a stellar effort. Thank you so much, Harold.
Thank you.
Thanks for saying anything.
I do appreciate that you took me onto the program, that you persevered with me, and here I am today.
That's my expert in getting back up again. And before we finish up with our presentations, I'd just like to say the development of this app has been no small feat. It's taken over 10 years of research with Kim working on this for as long as I've known her. Our entire research team here running the clinical trials. Our app developers, Verona Project Factory, who are up the back here, they have been with us on this journey since I think 2018 and now. We think it's easy to make it up, saying, can I just make it do this? And they go, yeah. Our consumers, so our older adults that have helped us design the program from scratch. So we've got Ainsley, Brian and Karen who might be online at the moment. Thank you so much. We've got our partners, so we've been working with health and aged care providers. So here's a few, to list a few, and New South Wales Health. And then of course our research participants, which includes many of you here today. So we've had over 2,000 people trial Standing Tall, and it wouldn't be today if it weren't for you. So thank you so much. So one more thing to finish up, to thank all of our participants and all of you for being here today. Standing Tall, the new app, comes live in a couple of weeks. So from 10 years to being finally available to the public, it will be live on the app stores where you can download it on most Apple or Android devices. I would like to let all of you know that everyone here today and online as well, so you'll all get 2 months free of Standing Tall. So as I said, it's live in 2 weeks, and you'll all get a code to your emails. So keep an eye out for that, and you'll be able to try out Standing Tall. So that's us for now. Thank you all so much. Please enjoy the research stalls. Go and test your balance, check out Standing Tall, and as I said before, enjoy some free lunch. Thank you.